Welcome to the Actually You Can podcast. I'm Miff Galloway, a performance coach passionate about supporting ambitious and high-performing women just like you who know they have untapped potential just waiting to be unleashed. If you're looking to massively up-level your performance in all areas of life, you've come to the right place. My goal on this podcast is to take you beneath the surface so you can connect with yourself on a deeper level while providing you with valuable insights and the tools necessary to navigate life's challenges and go after your goals with strength, clarity, and wisdom. If you're ready to uncover the truth which lies underneath so you can recognize your powerful feminine leadership style, pursue your goals unapologetically, and thrive in every aspect of your life, hit the follow button and get ready to explore the incredible possibilities that lie within you. Together, we'll uncover your next steps in achieving peak performance, because actually, you can. Hey everyone, Miff here, and welcome back to another episode of Actually You Can. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with the beautiful Gabrielle Pimstone. Gabrielle is an energy coach, and what I love is that she has a background in psychology and 25 years of experience working in the corporate world, and she uses this unique combination of skills and experience to help leaders release energy blocks and optimize their energy for peak performance. We talk about everything from energy work to dream analysis. So whether you've been trying to create a change that, for some reason, you can't quite make stick, or you're looking for a way to increase your energy that doesn't involve drinking 6 cups of coffee every day, there is something in this episode for you. We take a look under the hood and discuss what is really impacting your energy. So let's jump in. Hi, Gabrielle. Welcome to the show. It's so wonderful to have you here today.
Hey, Miff, it's great to be here, and it's even greater to be talking to a fellow Australian. So thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure, I am sure. And so we're just going to jump straight in. I would love to hear what, in your definition, is energy and what role does it play in performance?
Sure. Well, energy is one of those really intangible things, invisible but very, very powerful. So the way that I see it, and I'm sure that there are multiple ways of answering this, is that energy is the life force. You know, it's sometimes known as chi or prana. It runs through us. It's the thing that differentiates when we're alive and when we're not alive. So when we die, it actually means our physical body. And what energy does is it regulates our conscious and our unconscious functioning. So, um, breath, heartbeat, healing, all of the things that happen out of our awareness are regulated through our energy. And it also affects the strength and the quality of our thoughts and our emotions, which I think is a segue into the second part of your question. How does it affect performance? So if you think about energy as the invisible power behind everything we do, the invisible fuel that drives us, it can either rev things up or it can put the brakes on us and keep us stuck in slow motion. So the way that I like to think about it is really just through a simple example. And think of a picture of morning. You wake up, you are feeling positive, fueled by motivation. Throughout the day, thoughts are clear, the interactions that you have with people are uplifting, the challenges you face are manageable. Now flip that to a day when you are low on energy. Everything's a struggle. And even the smallest setback can feel really overwhelming and can trigger you. So it has a very invisible but powerful effect on our functioning and also our.
And I think everyone can empathize with those examples that you've just shared. And the first thing that comes to mind is when people look to increase their energy, we often go straight to external sources like, oh, I'm low on energy. I'm just going to grab a coffee or a Red
Yes.
Bull. I'm assuming your approach to increasing energy isn't downing a whole heap of caffeine. What is your approach to managing energy?
Well, I think caffeine helps.
yeah.
I'm not going to diss caffeine at all, but just to be clear though, Liz, the way that I work with energy, it's less of its some of it is about increasing energy, but it's really about releasing blocks. And so this is less about how energized we feel than it is about how non-resistant we are in our life, if that makes sense. But you're right. We often look externally for answers, and the answers come within us, and the same with our energy. So, what I teach people are the 5 skills of mastering your energy to keep you in your language and peak performance. And what that involves is the ability to really tune in and understand your energy, understand your energetic state at any point in time, and the ability to answer a very simple question. Is my energy open or closed? Is it high vibrational, low vibration? Is it heavy or is it light? So understanding your energy is the first step. But one of the really important pieces of managing your energy or mastering your energy is protecting, because, we've been talking lengths about this. Even before you work on yourself, you've got to look at your environment and start by eliminating blocks in your environment. And that includes people, it includes toxic relationships. That includes, in the workplace, it includes, the foods you eat. It includes the information you consume. So that's a really important piece. Third part of it is really learning how to clear your block. And we can do that on ourselves if you've got the skills, but there are also things we can draw on from our environment that help with clearing our energy. Fourth thing you want to do is maintain your energy. So our energy fluctuates in the day. Even if we wake up feeling buoyant, by 3 o'clock, we can have an energy dip, and we want to know how to interrupt those energy dips quickly. And the fifth part of it is how to optimize your energy. So really expanding and raising your energetic frequency, which is great for goal setting, reaching goals, great for manifestation, all those good things.
Thanks for sharing those 5 skills. I'd love to dig into each of those a little bit
Yeah.
deeper. Before we do so, you mentioned protecting your energy and clearing blocks. What is a block and how do we know that we're being blocked by something?
Okay. Well, an energy block is really what happens in our lives. A lot of this happens in childhood. That's psychology. Because when we experience traumatic events, and by traumatic events, I don't mean serious trauma. It could be serious trauma, but as kids, we can't escape things like being bullied on the playground, that kind of stuff. So no matter how big or small the trauma is, we have these events, and because we don't have the cognitive capacity to make sense of what's going on, we are not able to work through the event. And energy needs to be worked through, and it needs to be transmuted. It doesn't go anywhere otherwise. So what happens is you have a traumatic event, and the energy and frequency around it is, low, and it sits within your energetic body, doesn't go anywhere because you're not working through it. And then a couple of months later, a couple of years later, you have a reinforcing experience, and the energy goes nowhere, and it just compounds and compounds. And before you know it, you've got a really big block of energy that's actually running the show. It's driving how you show up. It's driving your thought, your emotional state, and it's totally unconscious. So it becomes like an invisible handbrake until you become aware of it. And part of the work that I do is to help people understand their unconscious drivers and the energy around that, and to help them release it.
And it's incredible that it could be an event that we experience in our childhood that's giving us these blocks in the present day. And so, are there any common symptoms that someone would recognize if they are feeling blocked? Is there something common that you recognize amongst your clients?
Yes, there is. And by the way, before I answer that, I'll say these blocks can also start when we're in our mother's womb.
Yeah,
So
well,
it doesn't even have to be a childhood. So imagine that your mother has a traumatic event, and the energy passed on to you. This is kind of segueing into your second part of your question, which is, how do you know you've got a block? I worked with somebody who um, was there. It wasn't a planned pregnancy, so their mother wasn't expecting to fall pregnant again. They're the youngest of 3, And throughout the pregnancy, she was obviously, you know, either anxious, resentful, all those things, But when this person was born, they grew up in a loving home, but they developed a pattern of behavior. And in there, that's how you know you've got a block. There was patterns.
Mm.
And their pattern was, very clingy, very needy, very codependent in friendships and in romantic relationships, needing constant affirmation. And when we looked inside, when I looked at the person's energetic kind of story, we got to understand that this had developed in utero as a result of somewhere deeply unconsciously knowing that he wasn't initially wanted.
Mm.
Isn't that interesting? So energetic, you've got an energy block. You've got an energetic block. You keep experiencing the same dysfunctional patterns in your life. Same
Mm.
kind of things keep happening to you. You can't work out why, and you can't really do much to shift it. It's that intangible thing. Sometimes, often you get, different patterns in relationships. I'll give you one example. Um, there might be people who've got a really closed heart and a block in their heart chakra, and they find it very difficult actually being in relationships. So their life might be characterized by long periods of loneliness and isolation. That would be an example. Sometimes I'm running a group healing for people who have limiting belief blocks around making good money in business. So
Mm.
that's another example of why people have blocks in terms of career. Like, I can't be successful because something happened when I was a child, and it goes all the way back to there. Um, blocks in terms of procrastination, and that's directly related to, woman's inability to make a decision and to take action and to move forward. That's a big block. Sometimes the blocks are more physiological, like, I've helped a couple of people who had blocks that were causing them, causing insomnia. They couldn't sleep. Sometimes, blocks occur as a result of sexual trauma as a child. I've worked with that as well. So,
Mm.
and that then becomes a pattern of, um, there was a pattern in terms of how this person related in relationships and friendships. So as long as you've got a pattern that's indescribable, keeps happening to you, that's your first clue that you've got a block.
And that's fascinating just hearing you talk about it because if I use someone who has issues with procrastination, for example, it
Yeah.
sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you could give them all the tools, all of the productivity tips and stuff in the world. But if they still have this block, none of them would be sustainable. Have I understood
Yes.
that correctly?
You've understood it. I couldn't have said it any better. That is exactly right. So this is the underlying thing. So people, um, if you don't know you've got a deep energy block, you're going to try different tools, modalities. You're going to do, and nothing's going to shift because the underlying issue is still there. So the work that I do is to actually go into the person's energetic system, find the inception point, the root. Where did it
Mm.
start? To relieve that, and then everything they try really just starts to open and work. So you're absolutely right. Um, you can sometimes try all the tools and techniques and action and feel like somebody described it as almost like wading in mud,
Mm.
in like molasses. You can't move forward. And so it's this invisible force that's holding you back. It's really fascinating. I mean, I worked in the field of psychology for 27
Mm.
years and then found, myself in a corporate role. I was beyond stressed, a senior leadership role. I'd been in the corporate environment for 25 years or 20 something years. And um, all the psychological tools that had helped me in the past weren't working anymore. And so
Mm.
I had to find, I had to find a different modality. And that's how I stumbled upon.
I love that, and I just when you were explaining before, I just feel like, you gave the example of molasses. I was just thinking about poor people smashing their head against a brick wall going like, "Nothing I'm doing is working." So if
That's
you're
right.
listening to this feeling really frustrated, feeling like you've tried everything, maybe you haven't tried everything because you haven't tried energy work.
Yes, that's my motto. That's exactly right. I mean, and well, my motto is I've just taken it. I took it off a few months ago, but it used to be being stuck was my catalyst. What's your,
Oh,
you
I
know,
love that.
because
Yeah.
I was in molasses, and that's I just and yeah. So there are always different modalities um, that we haven't yet tried, and I guess the challenge is just to keep an open mind and
Yeah.
give something a chance.
How did you keep that open mind? Because I'm assuming coming from traditional psych, and I'm making obviously assumptions here, and being in a corporate environment, energy and energy coaching probably wasn't used as common language. How did you find this tool and open your mind up to it?
Well, a couple of things to say. I've actually, when I was really young, at about 7 or 8 years old, my father was dying. He passed away when I was 9, and I remember having a dream. I had a nightmare, and at age 7 or 8, if you have a nightmare, you typically kind of, I don't know, go and wake up one of your parents, or you'd turn your light on, or what I did was, or you go back to sleep. I actually took my journal out and started to try and document my dream. And then
Yeah.
then my father passed away. And shortly after that, I had a chat with my mom, and I said, I want to go and see a medium. I didn't even know really what a medium was. She said
Yeah.
no. And I was looking for, it was more almost like a metaphorical thing. I was searching for meaning beyond the
Yeah.
visible. Like, there's got to be some answer to why my wonderful father was taken away
Yeah.
from me so young. And there was a flat out no. And so I had an interest in spirituality, working with
Mm.
dreams, going to see medium, but it was put on the back burner. And psychology took over because it was more mainstream. And I loved my career initially, but it was always like, I'm trained in a form of group work that's based on Jungian psychology, which is very
Mm.
spiritual, actually. So I got to play around a little bit with it. But ultimately, what happened was when I was really stuck and, in this awful job and having a bit of a breakdown, I had something came into my Instagram feed, and it was one of those long weekends. Somebody was doing a promo on their work at $10 or something ridiculous. And he was talking about energy, and energy runs the show. And I joined that, and he landed up becoming my teacher for it.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's how it practically came into my life. But I'd been searching for
yeah.
it for quite some time. And, I'd had some spiritual experiences, paranormal experiences
Mm.
over the years that absolutely freaked me out. And
Mm.
I wasn't ready for them. And so, and just, the readiness is all. And so when the timing was right, the teacher appeared.
I love how you explain that, and even just hearing you talk, I have a lot of, psychic friends, and you only need to hang out with them to realize some things you just can't logically explain.
No.
There, and you look for the meaning beyond the meaning, but it's incredible just spending time with my friends who are so spiritually connected. It's really insane, and so once you spend some time with people who are very spiritual, you start to develop more of an open mind, and
Yeah.
I'm very much similar to yourself. I'm a very curious mind and looking to seek meaning into a lot of
Yeah.
things. And that's how I stumbled across spirituality as well. I'm like, just some things aren't adding up here. Like 1 + 1 isn't adding up to 2. Like there's got to be some other force out here.
Yeah, and we've all got it. Some people turn to more, traditional religion. That's their
Yep.
answer. But
Yep.
I believe we're all seeking at some level,
Yes.
as
100%.
human beings, we're all seeking something, and we just go about it slightly different.
I want to ask you something real quick. What did you do this morning? Did you idly scroll through social media? Hit the snooze button one too many times? Or start the day feeling anxious and out of control? How you begin your morning sets the tone for the rest of your day. That's why it's crucial to start your mornings intentionally and deliberately if you want to perform at your best. But before you opt for those quick fixes to shake up your mornings and boost your performance, remember that revitalizing your mornings require more than a 5-minute hack. The secret lies in changing your morning routine in a way that suits you and committing to those practices every day. That's why, for the month of May, I'm offering free morning routine audits and upgrades just for you. You'll receive a personalized video recording with a plan tailored to you, along with suggestions on how to upgrade your morning routine so you can be empowered to set your day up to feel and perform at your best. There are only a limited number of audits available each week, so head to the link in the show notes for more details and secure yours today. Now, back to the show. Yeah, I love how you said that too. I completely agree. And you mentioned something that really stood out to me just before is that everyone has their own energetic story. And so when you're looking to increase your energy, shift it, release blocks or anything like that, what's happening to that story? Are you rewriting it? Are you just adding new chapters to it? What happens to your energetic story?
You're rewriting it. That's what
Yeah.
you're doing. And when I think, so an energetic story is like let me put that into English. um, what actually, it's quite easy to access your energy because all you need to do is watch how you speak, the words you use, the language you use gives you a real insight into what's going on beneath the surface. I once caught myself, I got out of bed after a good night's sleep and I talked to myself and I got up to go to the toilet and I heard myself saying, I'm exhausted. And I wasn't physically exhausted. Now that I kind of was alarmed by that. And then I noticed myself saying that a couple of times that day and the following day. That was a clue that internally I was feeling burnt out, that I was overwhelmed, my energy was fractured. And so watch your words. That's one way. And so that's part of the story. The other part of the story is our dominant emotion. Each different emotion has got an energetic frequency. There's that emotional scale that they talk about, and the lowest vibrations are shame, guilt, you know, disempowerment, all the way up to joy, peace, love, and they're various run between that. So if you're feeling anxious, you can feel into that frequency. You know what it is. It actually is agitated, but it's also a burden. There's like this heaviness to the emotion. So the emotions are a gateway and they're a big part of the story. My dominant emotion was anxiety for many, many years, decades. And the other way that you can understand the energetic story is through your belief systems, your thoughts, your limiting belief. And so the work that I do, I mean, I work at different levels. Thankfully, I've got the psych background and I've got the energy background. I'll release the block, but at the same time, I'm helping people re-script their story, their
Yeah.
human story as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love how it's so multifaceted as part of your energetic story too.
Yeah.
And you spoke about, as part of the skills, having the ability to understand and question your energy. You've shared a couple of things about how we can look into our energetic story. I'm curious to hear, you mentioned asking yourself the question, is my energy open or closed or heavy or light?
Mm.
How else can we understand our energy and what do those particular terms mean?
Well, you can ask yourself questions, the process of inquiry. And if you get into a quiet place, you can just sit down and tune in, okay, and say, how am I feeling? What's my primary emotion? Am I feeling heavy or am I feeling light? So that would be, one way of tuning in. The other way is through bodily sensation. Our body speaks in a particular language to us about it. So for me, for decades, the anxiety was this feeling. It was in the area that's called the solar plexus, which is the third chakra. Yeah. And it was actually just between the sacral and the solar plexus, a mix of both. And it was a constant feeling of dread and tension and butterflies. Also migraine, headaches. So your body's going to listen to your body speaking to you in energetic language. That's the one. The second one, I guess the third way you can really get an insight into what's happening deep below the surface, an energetic level, is through your dream. Now I work very closely with my dreams and my clients. We work with their dreams because when we're sleeping at night, that's where our story really starts to unravel. And, as you know, the defenses are down. And so it's a really beautiful way of not just understanding, getting a glimpse into our internal world, but also releasing big blocks if you work intentionally with your dreams.
Dreams fascinate me.
Me
I go
too.
through periods of time where I don't dream at all. I close my eyes and I wake up again, but then I go through periods of time where I dream. What's your thoughts on can first of all, can you have just a random dream for a sake of having a random dream, or do they always mean something?
My view, I think the word random and dream are oxymorons. I don't think of it in the same sentence. I think there's other people would disagree with me, but that's my view. I think there is, always it is the ones that you remember are you meant to remember. There's
Mm.
something, there's work to be done. There's new insights to be gained, and it's all happening out of your awareness. And I really believe there is no such thing as a random dream. Having said that, we don't have to work with every one of our dreams. I mean, I've got to the point because I've been working with my dreams for so many decades that I actually I've had to turn off that capacity. And also I pick a couple of dreams that are really big ones that I think are really meaningful to go into. Rest are just ignore.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Like I've just thinking about a mutual friend who dreams when her friends are pregnant. So she has a dream that someone's pregnant. She'll message them and they'll be like, "How did you know?" We're like,
Wow.
5 weeks. That's her superpower." Or I'll
Wow.
recently start looking at my dreams, and I might have a dream that someone's unwell, and I'm like, not sure if this means anything, but I'm just going to check in with this person. And it's not to say that to your point, you have to act on every dream, but if something's standing out for you, and it might just be a text to check in with someone if they've come up in your dream or something like that,
Yes.
I
Yes.
encourage you just to play with that and just see what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about superpowers and um, the language that we use, which means probably exactly what you're saying is spiritual gift. And we've all got
Yeah.
spiritual gift, all of us. I was speaking to somebody earlier today, one of my coaching clients, and they were talking about they become like a medium,
Mm,
and they said for many many years it was trying to come out, but they were terrified of it.
mm,
Similar to me, I was channeling at a young age, and I was terrified, so I stopped. I turned it off. So we're all born with these incredible spiritual gifts, but through life, through programming, through our own fear, many of us block them off, but it's never too late to activate them. I mean, part of what I do, if people are interested, and in fact, this particular person is working with actually wants her spiritual gift of mediumship to be
mm,
activated. I've done work where I did a group work, a series of, it was a dream circle to help people activate their capacity to recall and work with their dream. We've all got these dormant gifts that are waiting to be activated. I took you through the 5 steps of mastering your energy. That's the optimization piece. How do you unleash your dormant potential? And so I've got the techniques and tools to help people do that. Sometimes, people, I've had one person actually come to me to activate their creativity. Isn't that interesting?
that's
Um, it's fascinating, right?
mm,
So yeah, I mean, if you think about performance, you could activate anything related to performance. It's all there. I mean, the other thing that often lies dormant in all of us is our intuition. That's a deep spiritual gift. And so, most of us just haven't honed it, but it's there. And we were born with it. We lost it along the way.
100%. I think it's really interesting because I know as part of one of the second steps to mastering your energy, you mentioned protecting your energy. And I feel like there's so much that gets in the way of our energy that you're right. We just get disconnected from our intuition and our spiritual gifts along the way.
Exactly.
What are some things that we need to protect our energy from?
Well, I think people is a big one, you know. um, it's difficult because, I worked in the corporate world for so long, and I don't know if any of your guests are corporate, professionals, but it can be pretty toxic. And there is nothing much you could do about it. It's just one of those features of organizational life. And because I was in the field of psychology, I was actually in the thick of all the dynamics of helping people work through them. So, that kind of stuff. If you're in a corporate environment or, you know, there's that toxic kind of when a lot of people come together. I think also, I think about friendships that you've outgrown, but also how holding on to for various reasons. Relationships, romantic relationships. People, I know a lot of people who have stayed in marriages long past the sell-by date. And so, that can be incredibly draining because that's a really intimate, energetic bond. And it's with you a lot of the time. So that's the kind of stuff. So I think people is a really important one. I think, interestingly, they're places that give me the energetic creeps or really drain my energy, and I avoid them as well. But places could be something. I think the other thing is, as I said earlier, just uh, putting boundaries around the information that you let yourself let in. So social media can be a difficult place as well. Those, we've got a neighborhood group. There are like 50,000 of us in the group, and it's just toxic. Like people are so cruel. They're bullies. And, that kind of stuff you can really manage and protect. Also, the news, you can keep yourself informed without going into the gory details of war and of, you know, accidents and the trauma of, I keep up thinking as I'm talking, I don't know if you know about that family in Sydney I think it was 3 out of their 4 children were killed in a car accident. The grief, and it was all
Ugh.
over the news and I couldn't watch it. I just stopped watching it.
Mm.
So I think news and social media, all of that is another really important one.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't watch the news. I haven't for several years now. I actually tried to watch it about a month ago because I was like, I feel really naive and uneducated. So I turned on like it was ABC News or something, and I was like, I can't do this. Like I have to
Yeah,
trust that if there's something that I need to know, I'll know it, or I have to consciously choose to put myself in that environment. I just couldn't deal with the
it's
stress of
toxic.
it. Yeah, and
Really is.
hearing
Yeah.
hearing you talk about the people, the places, and the information, it sounds like some clues for listeners when they need to put boundaries in places. If any people, places, or information is causing you to feel heavy or to have some of those low frequency emotions, that could be a hint that you need to put some boundaries in place. What would you say to that?
I would say absolutely that's exactly right. And there are different ways of doing that. So, for example, if it's a relationship or if it's a person, you can actually set boundaries with them. And you can do that in a number of ways. Like if it's an existing relationship, you can't let it go. Say it's a colleague, or learn to say no necessary
Mm.
without feeling overwhelming guilt, because guilt's got a terrible frequency. Or, choose your company wisely. So minimize contact with people who drain your energy or create negativity or pull you down. So that's what you can do if it's people. If it's regarding information, you can have a digital detox, or you can limit your intake of information and really set boundaries on time that you spend on digital devices to really prevent information overload. There's that stuff that there's a lot of things. And actually it all boils down to prioritizing self-care and making time for activities that recharge you, that rejuvenate you, ensure that you get really enough sleep, ensure that you maintain a healthy diet, drink water. For me, I'm big into exercise. I've been
Mm.
exercising, and I know you were a professional athlete, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Exercise is definitely a big part of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. I once heard that exercise is hugely effective for mild forms of depression.
100%.
It really is. And so I'm a gym bunny. I go to the gym. I do yoga twice a week. I do flow yoga. I do bushwalk. I get out. I love being in nature. I'm always on the go and just keeping moving. Those are really important things. So the importance of prioritizing self-care comes into this equation really strong. It's an important way of managing boundaries as well.
And you mentioned before setting boundaries with people and being able to say no. But then for
Clearly.
some people, that comes with tremendous guilt. And so I can see why clearing your blocks is so important, because if you're setting a boundary, but the frequency makes you feel worse for having that boundary than it does for having that
Exactly.
person in your life, I can see that being a pretty tricky situation. You might keep the person who's not very supportive in your life because the feeling of guilt would be way worse for you.
Exactly. And there are, by the way, guilt and shame are, I didn't have, never actually suffered from guilt. I've sometimes thought, am I a sociopath? Because I don't really suffer from guilt, but I've certainly suffered a lot from shame. I've had to work
Mm.
through big shame blocks. We all have it. And, and that's why you're just bringing up the example again that you can do things on a tactical level to try and, push through things. But if the block is deeper, that's where you got to go to
Mm.
release it.
Yeah, and so you shared some really great insights to how we can protect our energy and clear any blocks. How do we start to optimize it? Because we don't want to just survive here. We want to optimize and feel awesome as often as possible. How can we start to maintain that higher frequency and optimize it?
Well, maintaining the high frequency is through self care, is a really, really big part of it. Sometimes I talk about a very simple technique is, you want an energetic interrupt. You want a tool for that. So set an alarm clock on your mobile phone, set it for, so I used to do it sometimes once an hour when things got going really bad. Sometimes 3 times a day, morning, midday, evening. When the alarm goes off, you take literally a minute out of your day, you sit and you tune in, or you do something that shifts the energy. Something, it could be as simple as, and this is what I often do when the alarm clock has gone off, I'll go in the sun, my garden, stand on my deck, and just get the sun's rays for a couple of minutes and then come back feeling better. So that's one, you just got to interrupt it. Now, the optimization piece is an interesting one because that's typically something I do people, because what it involves tools and techniques activating your energetic capacity for releasing dormant potential. And those are they're technical tools. But when people enter a coaching process with me, 3 to 6 months, we can go there. Then I can teach them those things. But that gets a little bit technical. But there are things you can do, I guess, to expand your energetic capacity and embody a different energetic frequency. I'm thinking of a simple one. Um, One of the things that I do for myself and I teach people is, when you've had one of those aha moments, something like you've had a moment of insight and you've got that wondrous feeling of, oh my gosh, I've realized this is what I've been doing and this is why my life is this way, to hold down that frequency, to really breathe that. I know it sounded a bit woo-woo, but to really sit in that frequency and let it come into you, let it, be
Mm.
absorbed into your energetic body, because you really want to start embodying a different energetic frequency. And as I said, it's quite a technical thing. I typically work with people and teach them complex ways to do that. But simply put, when you have a moment of clarity, or when you're having a moment of joy or peace, you catch those moments, you sit in them and you physically bring them in. I mean, if you could see me, I would be showing you what I'm doing. You can either kind of pull the frequency with your hands and just grab it and pull it into your body, or you imagine it just being absorbed into you. But really, that's what it's about. It's about changing your frequency.
And that makes sense to me because you've shared that the traumatic experiences and those low frequency emotions can be stored in your body. So I'm assuming in the
Yes.
same way, high frequency and those positive experiences can be stored too. Is that correct?
They can. And what I do, and it's also your dormant potential, which lies at a cellular level, and it lies sometimes at a DNA level. Sometimes our gifts are passed on and they're all high vibrational. So, what I teach people to do is to work to open up and to really expand their energy at a cellular level, at a DNA level. And that's where things just start speeding up, So it's quite technical. It's difficult to explain without taking you through a long process of what it involves. And I work with there's something that's called sacred geometry.
Mhm.
And there are different forms of sacred geometry that help flush things out at a cellular level. And that's what I'm talking about.
We can't have favorite clients. That's not ethical of us. But I'm wondering, what have been some of your most noticeable or impactful transformations you've supported a client with
I've
through
had
this
a
work?
couple. Yeah, I mean, I don't have favorite clients, but I have had clients. I tell you what standout clients. Sometimes I've had a couple of experiences where I've been totally flabbergasted at how quickly things have shifted. Like somebody coming to me with sexual trauma, realizing that at age 8 they had been molested by a family friend, an all too common occurrence.
Wow.
And, decades later, realizing the memory came back. And I thought, like, okay, I'm going to have to work with this person for a period of time because that stuff is, it's what it does, what these blocks do is, they've got tentacles. They can really infiltrate all
Mm.
aspects of your life. And literally in one session, that
Ugh.
block was released and gone. I was flabbergasted. So what happened, and this often happens after I'll release an energetic block, you have a physical or an emotional purge because the stuff is coming to the surface to be released. So they had a transcendent experience in the session, like they didn't know, they couldn't believe what happened. Then for 4 days afterwards, they were very flat and very depressed. And then they popped out of it and started to engage with the world in ways they haven't ever done because they'd been carrying this big burden and life turned around. So that was it blew me away. I'm just thinking of somebody else who has had terrible sleeping, terrible, like, taking hours to go to sleep, going to the toilet in the middle of the night, taking an hour and a half to go back to sleep. By 2 sessions, they were sleeping for the first time through. But that also blew me away. There was another person who came to see me because the relationships were really kind of broken. Friendships were broken. The history of that. And again, in one session, she started to really feel better. In 2 sessions, her whole family dynamic had opened up and was flourishing as well. So, and like everything just turned around. I mean, she said she actually doesn't know what happened. She can't explain what happened. But, that the pattern of relating just suddenly shifted. So there are a few instances, and I'm always blown away because I think technically I understand what's going on, but I don't really understand it because it's just beyond me. And that blows me away time and time again.
Ugh, those stories are incredible, and thank you so much for sharing them. And I completely
You're
agree.
welcome.
There's some things that just happen that you can't explain. And every time I'm caught in one of those moments, I tell myself, I don't need to know how my Wi-Fi internet works to know that I get internet. And
Exactly.
I leave
But
it at
that's
that.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to definitely use that. And actually, I'll add to that, Miss, because I actually think that your mind gets in the way of things. And if your mind's not supposed to, your mind doesn't have to be on board for this stuff to work. Let me put it that way. I worked with a skeptic once, a real skeptic whose wife suggested that he come to one session with me, literally, that was it. And, I could tell he was doing his wife a favor. And after the session, he said, I don't know what happened. I'm going to need some time to process this and come back to you. And then he came back again. And it was really magical to see that. So, your mind doesn't have to be on board for this to be incredibly powerful and potent.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that as well, because I'm sure there's people out there going, I can see the benefit. I might not quite understand it. Your mind is getting in the way. Just do the thing.
Or they might be saying she's an absolute lunatic.
You
But I can
can't argue with results.
You can't. And also, I'm actually really mainstream because I've lived a mainstream life. And
Yeah.
my clients can see that I'm relatable. I've been in the corporate world. I think psychology is accessible to most of us. And I'm working at that level as well. It's just, I'm doing things, um, I'm just shifting energy for you. And that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think, the people listening to this show, they're already high performers. The goal
Yeah.
of this is to open their mind to new ways of doing things or thinking about things to increase that performance even further.
Yes.
So to
Yes.
achieve results you haven't got yet, you're going to have to do some things you might not have considered. So I definitely recommend energy work. It sounds like it could be that next unlock for a lot of people.
It was for me. Yeah. Thank you.
And so is there anything else about energy that you think people need to know?
Um, Oh, there's so much. But I think, just looking at the time, and we are probably going to be wrapping up, I think I would say to people, uh, just be more intentional with your sleep. Don't leave it to chance. We've got, this gift we all have to dream. Use that. And remember that energy runs the show. And if you really want to lift your game, if you really want epic transformation, then that's the level you've got to work at. You can't think your way through stuff. You can't act your way through stuff. It's all about energy.
Beautifully put. Energy runs the show. I love
It
that.
does.
Golden underline. And so if someone's looking to increase their energy or to optimize it and better understand it, what is a really actionable step that they could do in the next 24 to 48 hours to do exactly that?
Okay, I'm going to give you something to do. It's Energy Mastery 101, and it is a practice of connecting your energy to earth energy, and it's called grounding. And really what you need, there are different ways that you can do this. If you want to keep it very, very simple, if you really want to kind of elevate yourself, kind of ground in the present moment and imbibe nourishing, innovating energy from Mother Earth, take your shoes off, go stand on the lawn or go stand on the earth and just stand there for a couple of minutes. If you want to amp that up a bit, you can imagine you've got energetic cords coming out of your feet. They're going into the earth, they're wrapping around the core, and they're almost kind of sucking up vital, high vibrational, energizing earth energy that comes through your feet and just fills your body with this vibe. You could do that. And literally that takes a couple.
I'm feeling more grounded just thinking of doing that.
Good. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle, for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've sincerely enjoyed it and know that the listeners will get a whole heap from this episode. If they are interested in learning more about the work that you do, how can they get in touch?
Well, they can get onto my website. It's generativegrowth.com.au. It'll be in the show notes. All my work is there. There are different ways of getting in touch with me. Otherwise, they can just connect with me on Instagram at Gabrielle.Pimstone.
Amazing. And I'll put those details all in the show notes. But thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope this was helpful. If you thought of someone while listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could share this episode with them. While you're doing that, please also take a moment to leave a review on the podcast if you haven't yet already. It takes less than a minute and it means so much to me and helps this podcast to reach more people just like you. Thank you so much for that, and I'll see you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and achieve every dream you have, because actually, you can.